Just so you know, this webinar will be recorded and you'll be able to go back to it when we post it on our YouTube page. So again, thanks so much for being here. My name is Camilla Cooper. I'm one of the program managers for CalSoap Los Angeles, and this is our free money scholarships presentation. CalSoap Los Angeles seeks to increase the academic and college preparation skills of eligible disadvantaged students. CalSoap LA provides support, services, resources, and opportunities to underrepresented students and families in the greater LA area in order to increase post-secondary participation and success. So let's just jump right into it. We're really going to start with financial aid because scholarships are definitely one of the key players for your financial aid package. So when you have been accepted to a school, the financial aid office of that school will send you what's called a financial aid package. In that package, you'll see, based on this breakdown, how much money you have access to, how much money you can borrow, and how much money you have remaining that you'll need to cover. So they'll start with free money, which is scholarships and grants, money you work for, which is work study, which is a job you can have on campus through the school to help pay for your tuition, and loans. Loans are money that you borrow, and usually when you pay it back, it comes back with interest. Now, let's get into it. So we're going to talk about scholarships today, and I really hope that you'll take a picture of this so that you can refer back to it when you're ready to apply. So we really like to encourage students to create accounts on national search sites. So that could be College Board, that could be Big Future, scholarships.com, fastweb.com. These scholarship sites allow you to create a profile, and you could put everything from being a single parent, being a first generation college student, being a person that has that writes with their left hand. All of those kind of identifiers of who you are, you can put in your profile, and then will receive scholarships based on where you are currently, either in high school or college, and then where you want to go in terms of your higher ed career. So we really recommend that you use the national search sites, but have that not be the only place you go. University websites. So say you get into Cal State Long Beach, you'll want to go straight to their scholarship page on the school's website and see what other scholarships you can apply for, along with what scholarships you're automatically put in the hat for that will show up on your financial aid package. This is a great way to see how much the school offers to students over the course of the 4 years or 5 years that you are at that institution, so that you'll be able to, should you need to fill in the gap for your financial aid, this is a place that you'll be able to continue to go back to after you finish your first year of college. Now, a third category is local scholarships. So libraries and community funds, Teamsters, Rotary clubs, really clubs and organizations, groups of people that come together with any kind of community service angle to their mission or vision will probably have a scholarship for students to apply to. It could be everything from city specific to interest specific. So say you really want to go into agriculture, there's probably an agriculture association in Los Angeles or Pasadena or Alhambra, whatever area that you're in, so that you'd be able to then apply to their scholarship and probably receive it. So with that, I have coined a 4-step process to scholarships. You are going to find scholarships. You are going to write the scholarship essay or information that they ask for. Then you'll apply for it. then you'll thank the group or organization or business for allowing you to apply. And then if you receive it, then you will thank them for investing in your future. So let's go through these 4 verbs. So again, scholarships. So you can use any of these search sites or Google. Google is always going to be your best friend, but these in particular are going to help you. Now, I would say that with scholarships, you can also even look at, say, let me think of a name like Kroger. So Kroger grocery stores normally have scholarships that they offer, or Starbucks offers scholarships, or Apple probably offers scholarships. Any kind of company, along with the local scholarships that I just spoke of, will have a education or advanced education mission toward helping students for getting them involved in higher ed, and also making sure they sustain themselves while they're in college. So not only are these good places to go, but also thinking about the large businesses. I think even KFC has one as well. So you want to be doing your research. You're going to want to Google. You're going to want to think about your interests, and then how your interests align with what possible scholarships are out there for you. So what are scholarships looking for? This is a big question. A lot of times they're looking at where are you from, what you're passionate about, what you're consistently involved in, how you want to change the world. Are you a first generation college student? How are you academically achieving? Normally, most scholarships will ask 1 to 5 of these questions in their application. And if you already have these kind of questions answered, you're already ahead of the game in terms of whatever kind of scholarship essay they're asking you to answer. I really like to tell people, if you don't qualify, you don't qualify if you don't apply. So even if it says, hey, like, we need a 2.5, you may have a 2.49. Put your name in the hat. You may actually get the scholarship based on how many other students apply for it as well. So let's do a little searching. So when you're looking at a scholarship, so say you either use one of those search engines, or someone said, hey, here's a scholarship you should apply to on paper, or if someone messages you from the school and suggests that you apply for a scholarship, you want to make sure to read the scholarship fully. Read what the organization or business is about, and then read what the requirements are to see if you qualify. So with this scholarship, now this is a scholarship specifically for Pasadena students. If you see eligibility criteria for merit awards, you'll see that it has 5 different things that you need to meet. So that means for this particular scholarship, if you're an African-American student or student of African descent, a resident of Pasadena, Altadena, or Sierra Madre, or a student of a Pasadena Unified School District high school, a student graduating from high school in 2020, a GPA of 3.0 or above, or on a 4.0 scale, and acceptance to a 4-year college and university. So if you know that you're going to, say, community college, this is not the scholarship for you. If you know you're going to go to a certification program, this is not the scholarship for you. If you are a resident of Los Angeles, this is not a scholarship for you. You want to make sure that the scholarships that you do look at, you see if you qualify. Now, this is also saying that there's a separate section that you can also see if you qualify for. See, now, if you just read the first 5, you'd be like, oh, I don't qualify. Okay, I guess this is not the scholarship. But you must read fully to make sure you know for sure that you are not eligible, right? So with this criteria, it's saying, again, that first 2, 3 are the same, but this has a smaller GPA. You can have a GPA from 2.5 to 2.99. Acceptance to a four-year college or university, community college or career and technical education program. A GPA of 3.0 and above on a 4.0 scale, and accepted to community college or career and technical education school program. So you actually do, should you have a lower GPA, you can also apply for this scholarship. Now, if you only stopped at that first eligibility, you wouldn't have known that you qualify. So you want to make sure that you read the scholarship fully, okay? That's important. Now, this same scholarship that was in the previous slide, they have what's called application requirements. Now, you need to read what it is that they're asking you to submit. So for this application, you are going to complete and sign a typed application. You are going to have an essay that you must write, one letter of recommendation on official letterhead. And it's really cool here because they bolded that to make sure you know that on official letterhead is important, from either school personnel such as school administrator, teacher, counselor, coach, one letter of recommendation from a community person. So that could be an organization, an employer, minister, neighbor. Sealed official high school transcripts that include the cumulative GPA, SAT or ACT scores if required by the institution, and a recent photograph. Now, I like to tell students, you must, again, read everything so that you know that, like, almost turn these into check boxes to make sure that you are turning in a complete package. There are some organizations and institutions that will say, you didn't send us that sealed official high school transcript, so we're not even going to look at your application at all. You want to make sure that you are reading what is needed for you to submit the application. One thing I will say is formatting is key. So if it's asking you for a typed application, don't print it and hand sign it or fill it out with your hand, because it's asking for a typed application. There's a reason for that. That may be that there's 15 people looking at applications, and if they can't read your handwriting, how are they going to know if you are a fit for their scholarship? Right? So you want to make sure that you're reading everything carefully, because that matters in terms of who's reading the scholarship, especially if it's a big one, right? If it's a $30,000 scholarship and they ask you for an official letter of recommendation on official letterhead, you want to make sure that's what it is that you turn in. Okay. So let's go through some scholarships. I pulled a couple that if you are a current senior, these are scholarships that you may be able to apply to depending on your situation. So we'll put this link in the chat for the Always Up Foundation. And its home office is in Culver City, so it is close in regards to Los Angeles. Now, eligibility, right? We want to read this wholly. Have you lived at a Section 8 property for at least 1 year, or be nominated by an Always Up charity partner? Be a senior at an accredited high school. Have maintained at least a 2.5 cumulative GPA. Plan to enroll in a 4-year accredited university for your first bachelor's degree. Demonstrated financial need, and be available to attend their summit. Now, it says that you would receive an average of $2,500 per year to assist with college-related expenses. The scholarships are renewable while the students are enrolled in college. Completed applications are processed at the end of April. Check website for exact dates. So then it's on you to figure out, what is the exact date that this application is due? Do you qualify? Did you read through all of this? Did you look at their website and see what it is that they do, right? You want to make sure that you're reading and asking questions to see if you qualify for said scholarship. Now, let's move to the next one. Great Minds in STEM Scholarship. So this is a scholarship that's coming out of Montebello, California, which again is close in Los Angeles. Now, the eligibility for that is that you must demonstrate merit through academic achievements, leadership, and campus/community activities. So what does that mean? That means that, are you performing well in school? What is your GPA? Are you involved outside of your regular classes? Applicants must be pursuing a science, technology, engineering, or math degree. So if you're thinking English is your major, or you want to go into the arts, this is not the scholarship for you. But if you know you want to be an engineer, if you know you want to be a scientist, if you know you want to do be a math teacher, this is the scholarship for you. Applicants must be an overall minimum GPA of 3.0 and higher. Applicants must be of Hispanic descent and or must demonstrate significant leadership or service within underserved communities. Recipients must be enrolled in a STEM undergrad or grad program. So it's good to know that if you apply, you potentially could apply again should you decide to go into a graduate program for the upcoming fall semester at an accredited 2-year or 4-year. The award is between $500 and $10,000. Listing in the GMIS Scholars press release and transportation support to the annual conference that they have, which this year is scheduled to be hosted in Pasadena. So the deadline for this scholarship is April 1st. Does that mean that you apply on April 1st? No, it means that March 15th, you should be ready to submit your application to said Montebello area. Either find out if it's something that can be emailed, find out if it's something that you have to make an account with at said website, and then build a profile from there and upload your scholarship, your essay question answers. Now I have one more scholarship for you, the Mexican American Dream Scholarship. So this is coming from the Council of Mexican Federations in North America. And this is for students that are AB 540 or DACA. So if you filled out the California Dream Act application, this is a scholarship you can apply to. And when you're looking at scholarships, you want to make sure if it is only for US citizens, or if it's for US citizens and those that qualify for AB 540, which if you qualify, then you filled out the California Dream Act application. Now, you must be a full-time student enrolled in at least 12 units at a 4-year institution or 2-year community college, must have a minimum GPA of 2.8, must demonstrate need for financial assistance, must demonstrate involvement in the community and or work experience, must attend school in the following counties: Los Angeles, Orange, Riverside, Inland Empire, and Ventura County. The award is between $500 and $1,000. Deadline typically closes in late August. Please visit the website for details. So this, again, you want to click on the link that's been put in the chat and see what is the scholarship deadline. What is it that they are asking for me to do? What kind of answers do I need to give in my scholarship essays? So that's a little bit about finding scholarships, right? So we went through where you can go. You can always use Google. Google is your friend. And we've also reviewed a couple to see if it's something that you qualify for. Now, let's move on to a scholarship essay. So a lot of times there are scholarships where they just ask you for your demographic information. They'll just say, hey, what's your name? What's your address? We'll put your name in the hat and see if you win a scholarship. A lot of scholarships that are a little bit bigger or more robust, or again, come from those local scholarship, local associations, they will have you write at least one essay or a couple of short answers about who you are. Normally, it has to do with like your leadership, your involvement in your community, your desire to go into a certain field when you get to or when you finish college. So we want to share with you a checklist that can help you figure out like what needs to go inside of that scholarship essay and to make sure to hit all of the things that you need to communicate who you are and how you want to present yourself to the committee that reads your essay. So questions like, do you have the name of the organization in your essay? So if they say, if the essay question is, tell us about a time that you experienced leadership, do you just answer the question, or do you say, thank you, Ralph's, for giving me the opportunity to apply to this scholarship, and here's the answer to my question. Do you have an introduction? Where are you from? What school you go to? And did you answer all of the questions? So if it's asking you to tell you specific things or in general, are you answering all the questions and introducing yourself to them? Are you using I statements, or are you speaking in third person? You want to make sure that you're using I statements to, unless otherwise noted, because this is a scholarship where they're asking you how you felt, how you experienced a certain challenge. It's really about you. So using I statements is appropriate in this situation. Did you explain your answers? So maybe they asked you to tell them a time where you felt passionate about something, but maybe you don't go into detail. Maybe you say, I'm passionate about playing the flute, and that's your answer. Well, that doesn't give me a sense of who you are, how you came to love the flute, how you feel about reading music, who taught you how to play the flute. You want to make sure that you're explaining your answers and not just answering the question. And are your answers focused? Are you answering the question, but then you're also answering another question within that same paragraph, or you're giving us other details unrelated to the answer to the question? You want to make sure you're keeping an eye out for that. Does the reader know what you have participated in, especially if this is a scholarship that is specific, right? So one of the scholarships we heard earlier, which was the STEM scholarship. Did you participate in a STEM after school program? You should probably share that if it's a STEM scholarship, right? That's directly related. Did you thank the organization or person? If you know that Shirley Gideon sent you this scholarship, did you thank Shirley Gideon for giving you the information? Did you thank the reader for reading your scholarship? And did you provide contact information? Did you just submit a one pager and say, okay, here you go, but your name's not on there, there's no place for them to reach you? You want to make sure that you're giving the reader, assume the reader doesn't know. That's what this checklist is all about. Assume the reader doesn't know so that you can answer all the questions. And when they're ready to reach back out to you, they know how to get in touch. All right, so we're going to do a little activity. I hope you all are ready to use your chat button or chat feature. So I'm going to have you all tell me how should Ryan answer this question. So Ryan's story. So Ryan, who in the 9th grade was homeless, is filling out a scholarship in 10th grade. The first question is, tell us a time where you overcame an obstacle. What happened and how did you get through it? So using the chat feature, tell us what Ryan should answer for this question being asked. Is it A, my name is Ryan, I'm a student at Crenshaw High School and I have been through a lot and need this money for some important stuff. B, I used to be homeless and now I am not. C, my family has struggled with housing, and because I shared it with my counselor, she pointed me to a place where my mom applied to get free housing for the rest of the school year. D, when I was a kid, I struggled, and because of some people that helped, my family and I are no longer struggling, and I am a lot happier. So using the chat, let me know what is the best answer to the question, tell us about a time where you overcame an obstacle. Okay, so I see an A, I see, ooh, tons of C's. Okay, tons of C's. Oh, I got a D here too. Okay, okay. Now for me, I would say that if I was Ryan, I would answer the question as C, because it gives me, now it doesn't give me all the information, but it tells me that housing was a challenge and there was an action that helped change the situation for that family. And as a reader, I would say, okay, that means that they felt some kind of way about their situation and got help, and then now we're in a better place. Now, it's not to say that any of these other answers are wrong, but going back to our checklist, right? Did we answer all the questions? Is our answer focus? Would be two questions that I would ask for these three answers, the other three answers, right? Okay, but good job, everyone. All right, here's another one. So this is a scholarship essay question. Please explain a passion of yours and why. So in the chat, using the chat, tell me which one accurately or most efficiently answers the question. So for A, since I was in my mom's belly, I have loved music. I would always try to go to free concerts in the park, and when I started high school, I decided to learn how to play the flute. Music calms me, energizes me, and I hope to spread that joy to everyone else in the world. B, music is my passion because it helps me to focus when I am writing. My mom told me that I need to pass my English class this year so I can play in band. C, I have been passionate about flute since I can remember. It is really cool to hear and play. D, I have been playing the flute for 3 years now and have noticed that all I want to do is get better. I don't watch TV unless it's orchestra concerts. I am a part of the band club and we play at all Pasadena celebrations. I feel like a celebrity sometimes. So with this, please explain a passion of yours and why. What do you think is the best answer? Okay. I'm seeing a lot of D's, a couple A's, a couple B's. Honestly, for me, thank you all so much for your engagement. For me, I would say A and D are great answers. I think D really shows that this person is passionate, right? They don't even watch TV unless it's orchestra concerts, right? So I can hear that passion in here. And then also with this, with A, I also hear is like trying to go to free concerts in the park and then how music affects them. Those are great descriptors. Now with B, I mean, does a scholarship group need to know that your mom told you you have to pass your English class? Not so much. That's not necessarily focused. But although it is an answer to, it doesn't give me the passion. It doesn't show me passion, right? Okay, thanks so much. All right, last, oh, well, I guess I only had two. Before we move on, I see there's questions in the chat and things, so I will definitely pause here so that we can get some of these questions answered.
You can look in the Q&A. There's 4 questions there for you.
Thank you. How would you thank them? Sebastian, great question. At the end of our slide deck, we have a slide that I can present to you on it. So you're already ahead of the game. Anonymous attendee, how will you know if you got picked for scholarships from websites like FastWeb? So websites like FastWeb will give you the information and it's up to you to apply to those, or those random drawings that excuse me, that particular organization or business will reach out to you. So you have to make sure that you have all of your most updated and accurate information on FastWeb for those random ones, but the ones that require you to submit, usually it'll take you outside of the FastWeb website and to their home website. And that's where you would apply or send an email to said person or people or group, and they'll reach back out to you should you be picked for their scholarship. So thanks for that question. Monica, what if your grandparents went to college, but your parents didn't? Are you considered a first generation college student? I would say, I think it's up to interpretation. A part of me would like to say no, and another part of me would like to say yes. I think a lot of times when we're using the phrase first generation, it tends to be students whose parents came from a different country before they moved to the United States. But if you aren't the first person in your family to go to college, you wouldn't be considered first generation. But I would also say if there's a scholarship out there for first generation schools, first generation college students, I would encourage you to still apply and then see what happens. It never hurts to apply in that regard. Okay, anonymous entity. What is Section 8 property? Oh, Section 8 is state or government funded housing support. Yeah, that's what Section 8 is. All right, and then Erica Cortez, how can we address, for instance, struggles that affect or GPA for scholarships or personal statements for colleges and even graduate school? Oh, great question. I mean, especially for COVID-19, that really changed a lot for a lot of students applying to school in general, but then specifically that some of the questions that are being asked on scholarships, you can talk about your struggle with GPA. So say the minimum is 2.4 to 2.9 and you're at a 2.2. You should apply to that scholarship and explain the situation along with answering all the other questions that are on there so they can get a sense of like, hey, if it wasn't for coronavirus, this wouldn't be my GPA. Or if something happened, there was a death in the family, right? Like you can use that as a tool to support you in having them consider. Now, there's no guarantees because each scholarship is a different group of people reading it and have a different rubric on how they decide what students get what scholarship, but it's something that you can put similar to in your personal statements for college. It is something you can put in your scholarship essays. That's a great question. Where would we find scholarships for specific majors like STEM? So similar to one of our beginning slides, which I can go back to for you, Erica, is those databases, using Google, really finding it. It really requires you to do some research. I can't tell you specifically off the top of my head, but these are resources. It's kind of like I would say the national search sites are like the Wikipedia. So you go there, you get your first version of information, and then you continue your search within that. And then colleges and universities also have scholarships specific to certain majors, and you'll be able to get that information on your school's website. Your school meaning the university that you've gotten into. Yeah. Okay. Let me go back. All right. Are you considered first generation if your parents went to college in a different state and then moved to the US? So if they were in a different country, I'm not sure I understand the question. Are you considered first generation if your parents went to college in a different state? If they went into college in a different state, you were not considered first generation. I'm not sure I understand the second half of the question, but if your parents went to college in a different country. Got it. Okay. You wouldn't be considered first generation I think it turns into a semantics thing, but I would say that in some instances you wouldn't be considered and in others you would. So for the United States, it may be that you are considered a first generation college student because it's first generation in the United States. Maybe it's not necessarily first generation for your family, but when the term first generation is usually assumed in the United States that you're the first person in your family here in the United States to go to college, because that is a different collegiate system than in other countries. Okay. Okay. So I will pause on questions here, and then I will come back when we get to the end of our presentation. But thank you so much for all your questions. They're really good. So I wanted to kind of break down, because I think a lot of times students struggle with writing scholarship essays, and I really wanted to dispel that it's any different than essays that you write in your English classes. So here's an example. Tell us about a time you exhibited leadership. What did you do and what was the outcome? So your beginning will be what organization or activity you were engaged in. So that could be like, I was engaged in, let's see, I participated in the softball team at my high school, right? And tell us about the softball team, how many years you were in it, what, are you passionate about it? And if so, why? Like really introduce the activity. The middle, what specific example you use to explain your leadership? Like, how did you feel after the completion of that example? So if we're telling you about a time of being in softball, maybe someone got hurt on the field and you were the first one to get the referee. Maybe you called 911. What did that feel like? So you're going to tell us in the middle what the example was and how you felt about it. Maybe do a little reflection on it. And then the impact that your choice had on yourself and others. So what was the result of you calling the ambulance? Maybe said person had a broken leg, but it could have been worse had nobody moved as quickly as you did or something like that. So how did that make you feel? How did it make others around you feel? And yeah, in reflection, again, what was your experience? So this is kind of the same thing that you're writing in English class: the beginning, the introduction, the middle, what happened, the end. In conclusion, these are my reflections. So I don't want folks to think that it's scholarship writing is any different than that. There's not a more advanced structure to it. It's really like, be clear, be concise, answer the question, right? So I put this in, I gave you guys another example of that beginning, middle, end. So beginning, I was involved with Upward Bound Math and Science, a program that introduces students to STEM activities. That's our beginning. In the middle, when COVID shut down the school, I used Instagram to stay connected to other people in the program. Because I did this, the staff of Upward Bound gave me access to the cohort Instagram account to continue to give updates, share resources, and funny memes to keep the other students engaged in the program. And then the end. In helping manage the Instagram account, the staff was able to still help the juniors finish their classes with good grades. I learned more about data analytics and saw what it takes to help run virtual programming. Beginning, middle, end, boom. You answered all the questions, right? It's focused. Now, could you go into more detail? Absolutely. If they're asking for a 500-word minimum, you can add more to the beginning. You can add more to the middle. You can add more to the end. But your basic structure, beginning, middle, end, is what's going to help you build those essays that answer the question in a focused way, in a way that communicates your experience and tells the readers what you're interested in, right? Okay, so moving slightly away from scholarships, I want to share that, or no, it's still related, but in a lot of the scholarships that I brought to the table today, they talked about demonstrating financial need. And a lot of times that means your financial aid applications. So your free application for federal student aid and the California Dream Act are two applications that you would be able to demonstrate the financial need. Now, when you finish these applications, you usually get, at least for the FAFSA, you do get what's called a student aid report, which has what's called the expected family contribution. And that expected family contribution is what helps schools figure out your financial aid package. And if you're applying to scholarships, it helps them understand your financial need. So these applications are based on the student's citizenship status, not the parents, and you only fill out one application. So if you're a current senior, March 2nd was the priority deadline for you to receive your Cal grants. And you can still fill out the application. If you are in community college, you are still eligible to fill out the application and get access to the California College Promise if you are a California student. And I want to talk a little bit about each of these applications should you not know about them. So the free application for federal student aid collects demographic and financial information about the student and the family. The applications for the next academic year opens October 1st. And again, that priority deadline is March 2nd, which was yesterday. This is the website, fafsa.ed.gov, and it's not an application you pay for. It's something that you fill out, and this is for students with a social security number. There are paper applications available, but we really encourage students to fill it out online. Now, there's FAFSA and then there's CADA. CADA is the California Dream Act application, which is state funded. So the state gives access for Cal Grant for the California College Promise, formerly known as the Board of Governors fee waiver. The CSU system has scholarships and grants for students that fill out the California Dream Act. And then there's other public institution awards and other public scholarship and private scholarships that students can apply to that can use this application to demonstrate your financial need. That is the website, csac.ca.gov/DreamAct, if you want some more information about both of these applications, but the same deadlines and filing rules apply. So if you are a junior right now, you will start these applications, one of these applications, October 1st of this year. If you're a sophomore, you will have another year and a half before you fill out this application. Now, if you're a DACA recipient, which is the federal law that protects students from deportation, and it's up to 2 years, DACA applicants and recipients will fill out this application. So you want to make sure that you have these filled out, because even if a scholarship doesn't ask you right away what you're demonstrating a financial need is, and it may be a part of part 2 of their application process, you'll want to be able to give them this information. So someone asked earlier, Sebastian asked earlier about thank you notes. So, all right, so we found our scholarships. We wrote our scholarship essays, and then we submitted the application. So what's next? We got to send a thank you note. We always got to send a thank you note. My grandma used to say, if anybody gives you anything, you need to send them a thank you note, because it gives them the warm and fuzzies, and why not, right? So how do you do that? So I think it just really depends on the scholarship and where you got it from. Is it a person? Did you email it? Is it like an online database? So it's a little bit more impersonal. You want to find out who you can send it to. But I have a little sample thank you note that I wrote, quote unquote, that I wrote to thank Music for Life Scholarship. So I wrote, Dear Vaughn Supermarket, Thank you for offering the opportunity to apply to the Music for Life Scholarship. I was happy to apply knowing your organization believes in the power of music. I look forward to building and maintaining a connection with you regardless of what happens with the scholarship. Thank you again for your dedication to this art form. Sincerely, Camilla Cooper, John Muir High School, class of 2022. Right? So I'm saying thank you. I haven't even gotten the money. And I'm like, hey, thanks for even having it, because it's also work to have scholarships and go through the application process. I'm sure they're reading over hundreds and hundreds of applications, and it may tip the scale in your favor if you are the only person that sends a thank you note. That leaves an impression. It really does. If someone sends me a thank you note, I'm always like, oh, wow, that's really sweet. And that's me having their name in my mouth just a little bit longer. And that could be beneficial for you. Also, you just want to thank people for being people. That's always nice. So with that said, I just gave you so much information and I'm so here for all of your questions. So in the chat, or if you want to unmute yourself, feel free and we will go over anything that you have questions about or concerns with. Yeah, because we are here for it. So let's see, can you still get a Pell Grant if only one parent went to college in the United States? So Pell Grant has a lot to do with your, it's actually your status. So if you're a current senior and you applied for the FAFSA, or if you applied for the FAFSA, because Pell Grant is the federal government's gift to you to go to school. So if you filled out the FAFSA before the March 2nd deadline, then you qualify for the Pell Grant. So it doesn't matter if your parents went to school in the US or out of the US, or if they went to school at all, it's okay, because the Pell Grant is for you and it's based on you filling out your application. Okay. What is the Blue and Gold Opportunity Plan and how do you know if you're eligible for it? So my understanding is that the Blue and Gold Scholarship is for UCLA. I'm not sure if it's at any other UCs, but I also don't know how to find out if you're eligible for it. I think that's a question that you'll want to either Google or utilize UCLA's Instagram, Facebook, send them a message. Say, hey, I'm interested in learning more about the Blue and Gold opportunity. They'd be happy to answer your questions. I want to say I'm vaguely remembering when I was in high school, Blue and Gold had to do with your GPA, but I'm not sure if it's something that you applied to or if it was after you submitted an application to UCLA based on your application, then they would offer it. So I'm not 100% sure, but there are people that can answer that question and you'll have to reach out to UCLA. Okay. When will we know when we received a Cal Grant and how will we be able to receive the amount of the grant? Great question. So Cal Grant is based on your financial aid application. So both your FAFSA or the California Dream Act application. And Evan, if I can have you find the link for I think it's called My Web Grants, or Web Grants for Students. That's what it is, Web Grants for Students. Once your financial aid application has been processed, you will be able to pull up your My Web Grants for Students and tell Cal Grant where you want that money to go. Now, Cal Grant's a little tricky because it is different pots of money. There's Cal Grant A, B, C, middle class. There's one for students that have children, and there's one for foster youth. So depending on your GPA, depending on what program you want to go to after you graduate, whether it be a 2-year, 4-year, and based on your financial need will determine which Cal Grant you receive. And then on the my web grants for students account, you'll be able to tell them what school should receive those funds. Thank you. There you go. mygrantinfo.csac.ca.gov. All right. Any other questions?
You just answered the one about how they'll receive Cal Grant if it asks for the school you will attend. I think you kind of answered it with the previous question. Okay, perfect.
Mhm.
And then there's another one. Is the Cal Grant different from the amount I will receive from FAFSA?
Yes, it'll be different because Cal Grant is separate from FAFSA. So FAFSA is federal. So they'll show you on your student aid report, your Pell Grant, how much subsidized loans you qualify for, unsubsidized loans you qualify for, and they'll send that information to the schools that you've gotten accepted to that you put on the FAFSA. So Cal Grant will, once you make your account with Web Grants for Students, you'll be able to tell Web Grants or Cal Grant where to send your finances that you're qualified for to your school. And then FAFSA will send their information to the financial aid offices of the schools that you've given that permission to. And then they'll build a financial aid package based on Cal Grant, Pell Grant, what you have access to in terms of your loans, and then any particular scholarships that you don't have to apply to for the school. And then if you get any scholarships that will send money straight to the school, that will also be on your financial aid award letter should they get it before they start processing that that part of your getting into your first year process. Let's see. What is the difference between subsidized loans and unsubsidized loans? Oh, such a good question. So the difference is interest. So one of our coaches really likes to say, one of them is basically while you're in school, you have an umbrella. Somebody is like, hey, I'll pay your interest. Don't worry, you got it. That's the subsidized loans. The unsubsidized loans means that during your time in college, you are gaining interest on that loan. So if you take if you take out a loan for $100, subsidized loan, that say the government or the state will pay for any interest. So at the end of your time in college, you'll just pay that $100. Now, the unsubsidized loans will start gaining interest day one. So it'll be maybe $100.01 day one, $100.02 day two. It will continue to increase interest until you pay it off. That's the big difference between subsidized and unsubsidized. Are the scholarships that include internships as part of the reward? Are there scholarships that include internships as part of the reward? There could be. There could be. Usually it would be the other way around. It would be internships that give you what's called a, what's the word? I'm blanking on the word, but they give you a gift, right? So they'll be like, hey, you can intern with us and we'll give you this lump sum of money at the end of your internship. Usually that's how it works. It's not necessarily the other way around where you get a scholarship and they're like, hey, here's an internship attached to that. It's not usually that way. Federal Perkins loan. What about federal Perkins loans? So my experience is that it's just another loan from the government. So it's not something you would get if you are a part of the California Dream Act application, like the CADA, but you would have access to additional loans under the FAFSA if you qualify, depending on your EFC and the other financial information you put on there. So it's just another type of loan. A stipend. Thank you, Juan. Stipend. Usually you'll get a stipend from your internship, and that would be your scholarship, depending on how they word it. Someone's asking any advice on searching for grants. I think my biggest advice would be think about what you want to do in the world and find organizations that do just that. And they'll probably have a scholarship associated to it, and apply. I think that, and making sure that whatever national database that you use, that you pay attention to it. Usually they have it based on the deadline of the scholarship. So making sure you carve out maybe 1 to 2 hours a week to do the 4 verbs we talked about: find, write, apply, and think. If you do that 2 hours a week, guarantee you'll probably get a good chunk of money for anybody starting in the fall, or anybody that's currently in college. So I think that that's like being strategic about your time and energy. Ooh, I think my favorite one on top of that would be to write 2 or 3 essays, like write them full on, all the description, all the focus, answering the questions. Because a lot of times, a lot of the scholarship questions, like the essay questions, are the same or similar. So if you were to write 3, you probably would be able to apply to more of the scholarships and in much faster, because you're not starting from scratch. So that would be my 2 pieces of advice. Any other questions? No? All right. Well, with that said, shameless plug for CalSoap Los Angeles. Please connect with us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and you'll be able to get updated information about all things going to college related. Oh, we have another question. Can you continue to apply to scholarships while in college? Please do that. Please do that. Please do that. Please do that. A lot of times there's like this assumption that senior year of high school is the only time that you can apply to scholarships. Although there are a lot of scholarships out there for that population, that's not the only population that has access to scholarships. I think you from like 10th grade till you're done with higher ed, you should be applying to scholarships, because there are scholarships out there for you. There are scholarships for students with kids, parents that go back to school, people that are left-handed, if you own a horse, like it's all kinds of stuff out there, and it's free money. So if it's free, all you have to do is write an essay or 2, boom, you put your name in the hat. Why not? Why not? Absolutely. Absolutely. Please do that. Please do that. So yes, connect with us. We're really excited that you guys came today. I hope you got some information. I hope you got your questions answered. And if you have any more, feel free to reach out to us, because we are here to help you. If you need any support on your FAFSA or CADA, please reach out to us. Even though the March 2nd deadline is over, we're still here to help you fill out your application, especially if you're going to community college. We're here to help. If you need support on web grants, we're here to help. If you need support on really anything on getting you from high school to college, we're here to help. So again, thanks so much for coming. If you have any more questions, we'll stick around for a little bit, but this concludes our presentation for the day, our webinar for the day. So have a good night, and we'll see you next time.